Start your day off right. Start your day with the great taste of Blackout Coffee. It's a terrific family-owned American business, and they're all about premium coffee, fresh roasted, and shipped out within 48 hours of roasting. Go to blackoutcoffee.com, promo code PDB, for 20% off your first-time purchase. It's Wednesday, 24 July. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. Let's get briefed. First, the world is beginning to react to the selection of Vice President Kamala Harris as the new Democrat candidate for president, with officials in Europe who worry about future U.S. support for NATO expressing excitement at the possibility. Their assumption, of course, being that a Kamala Harris administration will continue the policies of the Biden administration. Also, just ahead of the opening of the Summer Olympic Games in Paris on Friday, French police have arrested a Russian man on suspicion of plotting to destabilize the upcoming games. But first, our afternoon spotlight. As Vice President Kamala Harris shores up support as the new presidential candidate for the Democrats, with party leaders and the mainstream media all falling in line this week, some European officials, fearful of a second Trump term, are expressing cautious optimism about her prospects in November. Now, it's rare to see foreign officials and leaders wade into domestic U.S. politics. But for those in Europe who see Trump as an existential threat to NATO, Harris's ascendancy has triggered let's call it a renewed sense of excitement, according to a report from NBC News. An anonymous senior EU diplomat, is there any other kind, told NBC News that things, quote, got way more interesting with Harris jumping into the race. The EU official said, quote, Biden is a great man with an impressive life behind him, but he is not the future, while also adding that, quote, the U.S. needs younger leaders. Now, that last line was almost certainly a thinly veiled swipe at former President Trump by the EU diplomat. On Wednesday, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also joined the discussion, praising Harris as a, quote, competent and experienced politician who knows exactly what she is doing. He added that she has a real shot at defeating Trump. Well, it looks like European leaders all got the very same memo with Harris talking points that was distributed to Democrat politicians and media pundits. Scholz said, quote, the election campaign in the U.S. will certainly be exciting. I think it is very possible that Kamala Harris will win the election, end quote. Now, it might be somewhat more accurate to say that these leaders and officials are more excited about the prospects of continued U.S. support for NATO and backing of the current strategy in Ukraine than they are about Harris herself. Still, the remarks signal just how much European leaders feel is at stake in America's election. There's widespread concern in Europe's halls of power that a victory for Trump, a noted NATO skeptic, could leave the alliance divided and undermine their long-term strategy regarding Russia. Trump has promised to end the war in Ukraine and threatened to put conditions on U.S. support from members of NATO who he feels are not carrying their financial weight. At the 75th anniversary NATO summit earlier this month in Washington, D.C., officials decided to transfer control to NATO of a U.S.-led multinational group that oversees weapons shipments to Kyiv in an effort to, quote, Trump-proof NATO support for Ukraine ahead of his possible return to power. By institutionalizing NATO's role, they hope to make support for Ukraine immune to U.S. political interests. Now, despite the praise for Harris, the anonymous EU diplomat said that power brokers in Europe remain concerned about her ability to defeat Trump at the ballot box. While EU leaders might have a clear preference for Harris, they see a lot of uncertainty ahead. The diplomat told NBC News, quote, there are obviously doubts, but she has a very different profile compared to Trump. Well, congratulations to the anonymous EU diplomat for claiming today's PDB statement of the obvious award. And here, just a brief reflection on the sudden adoration being heaped upon Kamala Harris by Democrats, the media, and now EU leaders. Just brief weeks ago, Harris was viewed by most as one of the least competent and competitive Democrat candidates to replace Biden. A general view of Harris was that she was a midwit who had spectacularly failed upwards. Now that Biden has been moved out and the Democrats are desperate to show unity and stability, the speed with which she has gone from midwit to the greatest potential leader America has produced is stunning. The slobbery and fawning talk in the media, as everyone gets in line behind Harris, would lead the unaware to believe she's a cross between Joan of Arc, Beyonce, and Hypatia. And you're welcome, by the way, for the obscure Hypatia reference. My point being, Harris's overnight transformation in terms of the Democrat Party narrative and messaging is remarkable and should be a warning to the Republicans and the Trump campaign. The Democrats are very good at getting in line and following orders. And the order of the day is get in line behind Harris. Merit and competency aren't in play here. This is all about identity politics. Coming up after the break, French police have arrested a Russian man on suspicion of plotting to destabilize the upcoming Summer Olympics in Paris, which begin on Friday. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. The Paris prosecutor's office announced today that French police have arrested a Russian man suspected of planning to, quote, destabilize the upcoming Olympic Games, just days before they're set to begin. In the lead up to the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics, French authorities have been vigilant in their efforts to ensure the safety and smooth conduct of the event. Following a raid on his residence prompted by the Interior Ministry, the 40-year-old suspect was detained on Tuesday, with the prosecutor's office stating that evidence found at his home indicated plans to destabilize the games. Although the specifics of the plot remain under wraps, prosecutors clarified that it is not being treated as a terrorist act and is not being handled by anti-terrorist authorities. The suspect is currently in pre-trial detention and faces potential charges that could lead up to 30 years in prison. The Russian embassy in Paris has requested clarification and a formal response from French authorities regarding the arrest. The French Interior Minister suggested the man's plans for destabilization could involve disinformation or other forms of attack. In recent months, French authorities have had growing concerns over suspected Russian disinformation campaigns. The French news outlet Le Monde reported that an identity card found with the suspect indicated possible connections to the Russian Federal Security Service, the FSB. This arrest follows the recent detention of a 26-year-old Ukrainian-Russian man who was apprehended last month after an explosion in a hotel room north of Paris. Additionally, French researcher Laurent Vinatier was arrested in Russia in June on charges related to espionage. These incidents have heightened tensions between France and Russia, with both countries accusing the other of hostile activities. The French Interior Minister disclosed that over 1 million individuals, including athletes, coaches, journalists, volunteers, security guards, and residents near event venues, have been investigated as part of the security measures. So far, over 4,000 people have been denied access to the games, with nearly 900 barred due to suspicions of foreign interference. The Paris Olympics are set to begin formally on Friday, with the opening ceremony planned along the Seine River, set to unfold under France's largest ever peacetime security operation to date. The heightened security measures reflect the broader backdrop of international conflicts, including those in Ukraine and Gaza, as well as the recent activities of ISIS-K. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Wednesday, 24 July. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. To listen to the show ad-free, well, become a premium member of the President's Daily Brief by simply visiting pdbpremium.com. It could not be any easier. I'm Mike Baker. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.